Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the SmackDown review for the 6th of August 2021. Um, I say it almost every week. I don't understand how this show is on national television. I also don't understand why they in WWE are so lax about letting things on national television that wouldn't have gone in previous generations or I won't say any time in history, but certainly not exactly, moving forward into a really meaningful run here. I will say, ultimately, there's a lot of time at which people are kind of sort of enjoying some of this stuff, but at the end of the day, the major challenge becomes do people actually care enough to continue buying tickets if they don't improve the product? Anyway, we open with a Sasha Banks segment. Sasha Banks makes her way to the ring, starts SmackDown. Fans give her a positive reaction and cheer at first. Banks notes that she's returned to take the spotlight back and the fans booed. So basically, she turns herself within a few seconds. They recapped Banks attacking Belair. Banks brags about attacking Belair. She saved Belair to prove that she needs her. Banks talked about Belair crying before a WrestleMania match. She returned last week to make Belair pay for beating her for the title. Belair interrupts and walks down to the ring. She points out that Banks demanded to face her at WrestleMania. Belair notes she doesn't need Banks and knows Banks doesn't want her to shine. Zelina Vega interrupted because, of course, we have to have interruptions, and makes her way to the ring. Vega points out that Belair accepted her challenge last week and demanded a title shot. Belair agrees to face Banks at SummerSlam and accepted Vega's challenge for tonight. Michael Cole and Pat McCaffrey confirms Belair and Vega for later tonight. They recap Rey Mysterio against Jimmy Uso for the last week, and in the back, Rey isn't happy that Dominic challenged Jay to a match for tonight. He talks about Dominic being a rookie and doesn't want to jeopardize the title shot at SummerSlam. Rey thanks Dominic for helping him win last week, but noted he doesn't need the help, so they're still going with the slow turn there. Dominic promised to listen to his father, but doesn't need his help either. Rey's impressed and wants to see what Dominic can do. Jay, with Jimmy Uso, defeats Dominic Mysterio in 8:34 with Rey. Dominic and Jay, they do work hard here. Dominic looks, decent enough, but needs to get some wins collectively, especially since they've cooled him off since his debut. I think, last year at SummerSlam or something like that. Dominic hits a standing dropkick and an arm drag off the ropes to gain control. Jay comes back with a shoulder tackle and other basic moves. Dominic tries fighting back, but Jay rocks him with a hard shot. They fight on the floor briefly. Dominic avoids Jay and hits a dropkick through the ropes and follows up with a sliding sunset powerbomb onto the barricade. During the break, Jay takes over and Jimmy interferes. Back from the break, Jay hits a jumping neckbreaker for a close near fall. Dominic avoids a Samoan drop and hits a neckbreaker for a 2 count. Dominic then hits a springboard moonsault for another near fall. He avoids an enziguri and sends Jay into the corner. Dominic then hits a 619 and climbs to the top rope. Jimmy runs at Dominic, and Rey hits a senton to block him off, and Dominic takes too long. Jay gets back to his feet, avoids Dominic, and hits a super kick. Follows up with a splash for the win. They recap Rollins attacking Edge last week during the commercial break, and Megan comes out to interview Edge. He challenged Rollins to meet him out there later. Rick Boggs introduces King Nakamura to a decent enough reaction, although, honestly, the next match, does anybody really care? Championship contenders match. They go 2 minutes, 10 seconds. Shinsuke Nakamura with Rick Boggs versus Apollo Crews. Nakamura and Crews got 2 minutes and have a useless finish, just filling TV time. They recap Nakamura pinning Crews in 6-man tag last week, which no one cares about these multi-person matches. Crews then has an early advantage until Nakamura fights back. Nakamura hits a knee off the second turnbuckle for a near fall. Crews then attempts the Olympic slam, but Nakamura slips. out and comes out the back door. Nakamura hits a series of knees in an attempt at a pin. Aziz then pulls Nakamura out of the ring for disqualification. Cruz then fires back and hits. He fights back and hits Cruz into Aziz. In the back, Caleb Braxton speaks with Paul Heyman. Heyman notes that Cena stole the contract since Finn Balor's name is on it. He calls Tampa Bay Buccaneers Tampa Bay, word I can't use here, and fans erupt in boos for the insult. Heyman tells Braxton and Reigns that he has nothing to say to Cena or to her. Heyman walks off, but then runs into Big E. He's holding the Money in the Bank briefcase and laughing at Heyman. Tegan Nox with Shotzi Blackheart defeats Tamina in under 2 minutes. What's up with these under 2 minute matches? Oh yeah, we don't really care about wrestling and we think our storylines are good. Tegan Nox now has a first name, and then the crowd didn't react to this much at all, and so they go under 2 minutes with a weak finish, and Tamina is firmly in control. Nox fights back. She hits a couple cannonballs in the corners for a near fall. Tamina avoids a shining wizard and hits a super kick. Super kicks are popular on this show. We might actually take after the old Bucks. Anyway, Tamina is in control. Tamina puts Nox into a Samoan drop. Shotzi hits a missile at Tamina. Tamina is missed, but gets distracted. Nox rolls her up for the win. In the back, Zelina Vega approaches Adam Pearce and DeVille and demands to have a match with Bianca Belair. Pearce notes that they could have a match can't have a match without proper promotion. DeVille then clarifies that Vega is taking on Belair in a non-title match. DeVille tells Vega to prove herself and she might get a future title shot. Edge is super over as a former star. Comes out and gets a good reaction, makes his way to the ring before commercial, gets a decent pop on the entrance. Edge notes Seth Rollins isn't there tonight. Fans erupt in boos for this. Rollins appears on the big screen via satellite. He makes fun of Edge and notes that he always has a plan B. Edge then said that his plan B, said he has a plan B and challenged Rollins to a match at SummerSlam. Rollins needs time to think about this, but tells Edge he should think about it too. Rollins ends up talking about the neck surgeries that ended Edge's career short term. Edge is hurt enough and makes fun of Rollins. He calls Rollins Edge light, and he couldn't fill his shoes. Rollins then becomes furious and accepts the challenge for SummerSlam. This was predictable and honestly didn't need to take this long. In the back, Caleb Braxton interviews Finn Balor. He's furious about Baron Corbin attacking him last week, and John Cena stole the title shot. Balor was promised to teach Corbin honor and integrity tonight, and after he beats Corbin, he's going to address Cena. Street Profits defeated Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode in 3:37. Match was too short to be anything meaningful, but the Street Profits do get a decent reaction. They recapped Ziggler and Roode defeating the Street Profits for the belts last January. We're actually going back to history because we need to fill time, not because we care about history. Montez Ford attempts a backflip, but slips and Roode takes over. Ford recovers and hits a standing dropkick. Roode then hits a huge suplex to regain control. Heels isolate Ford in their corner for a bit. Dawkins gets a hot tag, runs wild. Twisting splash in the corner, follows up with a twisting neckbreaker for a near fall. Ziggler fights back and hits a famouser for a near fall. Ziggler then attempts a DDT, but Dawkins pushes him back and hits a spine buster. Ford then hits a frog splash for the kind of predictable win. Then we go to a non-title match for the SmackDown Women's Champion. This gets 9 minutes and 30 seconds, which makes absolutely no sense. While I understand pushing Zelina Vega, while I understand pushing Bianca Belair, pushing Zelina Vega at this point doesn't make sense. They are teasing the fact that Vega might get a title match if she can prove herself here tonight. Belair is briefly in control. Vega locks in submission in the ropes. Belair fights back and sends Vega to the floor. Belair gave Vega a press slam. Sasha Banks comes out. Banks distracts Belair, which allows Vega to escape. She follows up with a Rana off the apron. Back from the break, Vega is finally in control with a chin lock. Belair escapes and hits a shoulder tackle. Vega then goes for an armbar, but Belair picked her up, and Belair slams Vega and handspring splash for near fall. Vega attempts a sleeper, but Belair countered into a suplex. Belair then rolls through and attempts a delayed suplex, but Vega reversed into her own suplex. Vega then attempts a Rana off the apron, but Belair held on and slammed her against the barricade. Belair then hits the KOD for the win. Heyman informs Roman Reigns that Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin's next, and Reigns pretends to be interested in this. Balor beats Corbin in 2:47, so you've been building this whole babyface turn of Corbin and make it not matter. Balor dominates Corbin and beats him in a short match. Fans do respond to Corbin. Corbin can no longer also afford entrance music. Bell rings and he asks for the mic. He apologizes for what he did to Corbin last week. Balor doesn't accept. Balor then hits Corbin with forearms and chops. And then we see the fans break into a "Let's Go Balor" chant, double foot stomp, and a sling blade. Follows up with a shotgun dropkick and a coup de grace for the win. After the match, Belair grabs the mic and notes he still wants a title shot. 3 years ago, he would have let it go, but that Finn's dead. Balor doesn't care if he has to go through John Cena to get the match. And then the final segment is Reigns and Balor. Angle didn't do anything for Balor. It also doesn't necessarily do anything for Reigns either. He looks strong going over Corbin, but then gets beat down in this segment. So basically, we don't really care about making baby faces. He gets a brief bit of offense, but he's overwhelmed by the heels, including but not limited to the Usos. And Reigns does make Balor tap out. So why do we care what happens after Reigns beats Cena? Fans are chanting for Cena. He's not in the building. So basically, we've built up a guy who's only there part-time to be the biggest star in terms of baby faces. Belair looked at Reigns and shook his head. Reigns heard Balor ranting about Cena and mentioned his name. Reigns tells Balor not to mention his name again. Fans chant "what" at this, and because they don't care either. Fans erupt into another Cena chant partway through the promo, and there's a stare down. The Usos make their way out. They jump Balor and beat him down pretty good. Balor fights back 3-on-1, but it doesn't last. He then follows up with a huge dive. Belair jumps back in the ring and challenges Reigns. Reigns and Balor brawl, and Balor gets a minor advantage. Usos jump him again, and Reigns gets him in the guillotine submission. Balor taps out. Fans broke into another Cena chant, and we end the SmackDown experiment for the day. Anyway, this is horrid, and ultimately, to be able to cover this in 15 minutes or less tells you that there's no reason to watch this show. Anyway, we'll be back with more right after this.